My dad's girlfriend is trying to get rid of me. I woke up choking. Something was covering my face, heavy, tight, pressing down on my mouth and nose. My hands shot up, clawing at the pillow. My nails scraped fabric, but whoever was holding it didn't let go. I kicked. I thrashed. I tried to scream, but it was just muffled sobs under the smothering weight. My lungs burned. Spots danced in front of my eyes. And then, just as suddenly, it was gone. Air rushed back into me like fire. I rolled off the bed, coughing so hard I thought my ribs would crack. My hands shook as I pulled myself up, ready to scream at whoever had just tried to kill me. But the room was empty. The door was cracked open, and in the hallway, I saw her, standing there in the dark. Dad's girlfriend, smiling. She put a finger to her lips and whispered, "Shh." Then she walked away. 2 hours earlier, everything was normal, or at least as normal as it's been since she moved in. When Dad first introduced her, I tried to like her. I really did. He seemed so happy for the first time since Mom died, I didn't want to ruin that. She was sweet at first. Bought me clothes, cooked my favorite food, asked about school. But then little things started happening, like how my favorite hoodie got accidentally thrown away, or how she told Dad I'd cursed at her when I hadn't, or how my bedroom door started getting locked from the outside when I was inside. Dad didn't believe me. Every time I told him something weird was happening, he said I was just adjusting or being dramatic. I stopped telling him. But tonight was different. Dinner was tense. She kept smiling at Dad, touching his arm, acting perfect. But every time he looked away, she stared at me, like staring into me. I thought maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I was paranoid. But then I found the note under my pillow. It said, "You don't belong here." No signature, just those words. And now, 2 hours later, after she tried to smother me, I'm sitting on my floor shaking, listening to her footsteps fade down the hall. What do I do? Do I tell Dad? Do I call the cops? Do I run? Because one thing is for sure. She's not just trying to get rid of me. She's trying to make sure I disappear. And I don't think Dad would believe me. But someone will, right? That was the night I realized she wasn't just mean. She was dangerous. And I was trapped. Because tomorrow, Dad is leaving for the weekend with her. And I'm supposed to stay here alone. I don't know if I'll make it.
Dad left this morning. I watched from my bedroom window as his car rolled down the driveway, his hand waving from behind the steering wheel. He smiled like everything was normal, like he wasn't leaving me here with her. Her smile was different. She stood in the doorway in her silk robe, arms crossed, eyes locked on me through the glass. When Dad wasn't looking, her grin stretched wider. Not happy, not friendly, hungry. The second his car disappeared, I felt the weight of the house change, like the walls were breathing and I was trapped inside their lungs. The front door slammed shut. Footsteps. Slow. Coming up the stairs. I ran to my bed and grabbed my phone. Texted Dad. Me. "Dad, please don't go. I don't feel safe." Dad. "What? Why? She's there with you. You're fine. Be nice, okay?" Me. "I'm serious." Dad. "We'll talk later. Love you." Read. No reply after that. And then the footsteps stopped right outside my door. The handle turned. She walked in like she owned the place, like she owned me. "Hi, sweetie," she said, voice sugar-coated poison. "It's just us now. Isn't that nice?" I didn't answer. She looked around my room like she was inspecting it, touching my stuff, my books, my hairbrush. Then she picked up the framed photo of me and Dad. "You love your daddy, don't you?" she asked. I nodded. Her smile flickered. "Good. So do I. We're going to be a big, happy family." She set the picture back down, but now it was upside down. Then she leaned close, so close I could smell her perfume, sickly sweet, like flowers rotting. "But there's a problem," she whispered. "You don't belong in this family." My heart froze. She smiled like it was a joke, but her eyes said she meant every word. Then she left, just like that, walked out, humming. I sat there for what felt like hours, staring at the upside-down picture frame. The day crawled. I stayed in my room as much as I could, but every time I needed water or had to use the bathroom, she was there, waiting. At one point, I came out and she was sitting on the couch watching TV. Except the TV wasn't on. She was just staring at the blank screen. And then she said, without turning her head, "You'd be surprised how easy it is to make someone disappear." I froze. She didn't look at me, didn't laugh, just kept staring at the dead screen like it was whispering to her. I ran back to my room and locked the door, but an hour later I heard it. Click. The sound of my door unlocking. I jumped up and held the door handle, but it turned in my hand. She was on the other side. "Sweetheart," she said softly, like a lullaby. "Why are you locking the door? You don't trust me?" Her voice slid under the crack like smoke. Then the handle stopped moving. Silence. And then, "Come downstairs, dinner's ready." Her footsteps faded.
I didn't want to go. Every bone in my body screamed not to, but I was hungry and scared, and she sounded calm. So I went. The table was set for two, candles flickered, casting long shadows on the walls. She had made spaghetti, my favorite. Except the noodles were black. "What is this?" I whispered. "Eat," she said, smiling too wide. "It's a special recipe." I sat down, my hand shaking as I picked up the fork. The noodles looked like worms. The sauce smelled wrong, metallic. "Why is it black?" I asked. "Because," she said, leaning in close, "because I added something special for you." My stomach twisted. I didn't take a bite. That's when her smile dropped. Her face hardened like stone. "Eat it," she hissed. I ran. I shoved back from the table and bolted toward the stairs. Her chair screeched against the floor as she stood. "Get back here," she yelled. I didn't stop. I made it to my room, slammed the door, locked it, pushed my dresser in front of it. My heart was a drum in my ears. She pounded on the door. "You think he'll believe you? He won't. He loves me, not you." Silence. And then laughter. Soft at first, then louder, louder, until it didn't sound human anymore. Then it stopped. I sat in the dark, clutching my phone, praying for Dad to call. He didn't. At midnight, I finally lay down, still fully dressed, too scared to sleep. And that's when I heard it. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Coming from under my bed, I froze. Then slowly, I leaned over the edge and looked. Nothing. Just shadows. And then a voice whispered from the dark. "You're never leaving." I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I just lay there all night, staring at the ceiling, every muscle stiff, listening for another sound from under the bed. But after that whisper, everything went silent. Too silent, like the house was holding its breath. When the sun finally rose, I felt sick from exhaustion. My eyes burned, my head throbbed, but the silence was worse than the scratching. At least when there was noise, I knew where she was. Now, I didn't know anything. I sat up slowly, my heart pounding. My dresser was still pushed against the door. My phone was in my hand, but the screen was black. Dead battery. I could charge it, but the charger was downstairs, near her. I listened. Nothing. No footsteps, no humming, no clinking dishes. Just nothing. I decided to check the window. Maybe, just maybe, I could climb out. When I pulled back the curtain, my stomach dropped. Every window on this floor had metal bars. When did those get there? I'd lived here for years. There were never bars before. Panic hit me like a punch. I shoved the dresser back and cracked the door, slowly, quietly. The hallway was empty. The air smelled faintly of bleach. I crept out, every board groaning under my feet. I made it to the stairs and looked down. She wasn't there. The living room was empty. The kitchen was empty. The spaghetti from last night was gone, like it never happened. I grabbed my charger and plugged in my phone. It lit up, 5% battery. Enough to call Dad. My hand shook as I dialed. 1 ring, 2 rings, 3. "Hey, honey, everything good?" His voice. Normal, happy. "Dad," my voice cracked. She's scaring me. She said she wants me gone. Honey," he cut me off, his tone firm. "Stop. She told me you were acting weird. You've got to give her a chance. She's trying. Dad, you don't understand." "Look," he said, almost annoyed now. "I'll be back Sunday night. Just be nice, okay? For me." And then he hung up. I stared at the screen as it went black again. "Who were you talking to?" I froze. She was standing in the doorway. I don't know how long she'd been there. Her hair was wet like she'd just taken a shower, dripping down her silk robe. Her face was calm. Too calm. Dad," I stammered. Her smile twitched. "Oh, and what did you tell him?" "Nothing," I whispered. She walked in, slow, her bare feet silent on the tile. Then she crouched in front of me, her inches from my face. "You know," she said softly, "lying is a sin." I swallowed hard. She tilted her head, studying me like an insect. Then, "Smile. Too big, too white." "Come on," she said, standing. "I made breakfast." I didn't move. "Now," she added, voice sharp. The kitchen smelled sweet. Pancakes, bacon, orange juice. She'd set the table again. 2 plates, 2 glasses. I sat down, my stomach in knots. She poured syrup onto my plate and slid it toward me. "Eat," she said. I stared at the pancakes. They looked normal, smelled normal, but so did the spaghetti. My hands trembled as I cut a piece, brought it to my mouth. She watched me. Her smile never moved. I chewed slowly. It tasted fine, sweet, but my throat felt tight, like swallowing glass. "Good girl," she whispered. I nodded, forcing another bite down.
Halfway through, I realized something. She wasn't eating. Her plate was empty. Her glass was empty. She was just watching me. "I have a surprise for you," she said suddenly. My fork froze. What surprise? Her smile widened. "Come downstairs. I've been working on something special." Every nerve in my body screamed no, but my legs moved anyway. She led me to the basement door, opened it slowly. The smell hit me first, damp, metallic, sour. "Go on," she said softly. I shook my head. Her hand clamped onto my shoulder, hard. "I said," she whispered in my ear, "go." The stairs creaked under my feet as I descended. It was dark. The only light came from a single bulb swinging overhead. When I reached the bottom, I saw it. A chair in the middle of the room, straps hanging from the arms, and next to it, a table, covered in knives. My blood turned to ice. What is this?" I whispered. She stepped into the light, her eyes glowing like a predator's. "This," she said, "is where everything changes." I backed away, but she grabbed me. Hard. And then, the basement door slammed shut above us. The sound of that door slamming above us echoed like a gunshot. My chest clenched so hard I couldn't breathe. She didn't let go of me. Her grip was like iron, fingers digging into my skin until it hurt. "You've been so difficult," she said softly, almost like she was scolding a child. "But that's okay. I can fix you." I don't need fixing," I whispered, my voice shaking so hard I barely recognized it. She laughed. Not loud, not dramatic, just a little breathy chuckle that made my stomach twist. "Oh, honey," she said, tilting her head, "everyone needs fixing." Then she shoved me toward the chair. I stumbled, caught myself, and turned fast, ready to bolt. But she was already blocking the stairs, the only way out, and the knives on that table gleamed under the swinging bulb. "Sit," she said, her voice calm again. "No," I whispered. "Sit," she repeated, this time sharper. I shook my head. Her eyes flickered, just for a second, but that was enough to make my blood run cold, because behind that smile, something dark moved. "Do you want me to hurt you?" she asked, voice still soft, almost sweet. I didn't answer. She took a slow step toward me, then another. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I thought they'd break. I did the only thing I could think of. I ran. Not for the stairs, she'd expect that. I bolted for the far corner, where there was an old shelf stacked with boxes. I yanked one down and hurled it at her. It hit her shoulder, hard. She staggered, just enough. I grabbed another and threw it, then another. She ducked, snarling now, all the sweetness gone. "You little—" I didn't wait for the rest. I darted behind the shelf, squeezing through a gap, scraping my arms raw on the splintered wood. The basement wasn't just a single room. Behind the shelves was another space, a storage area I hadn't seen in years. I crouched there, heart hammering, listening as she moved slowly through the main room. Tap, tap, her bare feet on the concrete. "Come out, sweetheart," she sang. Her voice echoed. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." I clamped my mouth over my mouth, forcing myself not to breathe too loudly. Then I heard the clink. Metal against metal. She was picking up the knives. I crawled deeper into the storage space. It smelled like mold and dust. My hands brushed over boxes, old furniture, broken lamps, until I found something cold. A pipe. Rusted. Heavy. I gripped it tight. My only weapon. Her voice was closer now. "Do you know what happens," she whispered, "to ungrateful little girls?" The shelf creaked. She was moving it. I had seconds. When she yanked it aside, I swung. The pipe connected with her arm. She screamed, high and sharp like an animal, and the knife clattered to the floor. I didn't wait. I ran. I tore across the basement, up the stairs, 2 at a time, and slammed straight into the door. It was locked. I pounded on it, screaming, clawing, kicking. My throat burned, my fists went raw, but it didn't budge. Behind me, I heard her laugh. Slow. Low. "You think I'd leave that unlocked?" She spun around. She was limping, cradling her arm, but her eyes were on fire. "You want to play rough? Let's play." She lunged. I dove sideways, barely dodging the knife she'd picked up. It missed my face by an inch and clanged against the wall. We struggled. I swung the pipe again, but she caught it this time, wrenched it from my hands, and threw it across the room. Then her fingers were in my hair, yanking hard, dragging me back down the stairs. I kicked, clawed, screamed, but she was strong, so much stronger than me. She slammed me into the chair. The straps bit into my wrists before I could even process what was happening. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tied. Tight. When she stepped back, breathing hard, I realized something horrifying. She was smiling again. Calm, sweet, like none of that just happened. "See," she said softly, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "Was that so hard?" I stared at her, my chest heaving, tears streaming down my face. "What do you want?" I whispered. Her smile grew wider. "I want you gone." She walked over to the table, picked up one of the knives, turned it slowly in her hand, the blade catching the light. Then she looked at me, eyes shining like she'd just thought of something wonderful. You know, there's more than one way to make someone disappear. The basement door creaked. Footsteps, heavy ones.
Babe, a man's voice called. Dad. She froze. Then she smiled, so wide it made my stomach flip. Not a word, she hissed, pressing the cold blade to my throat. Then she yelled, all fake sweetness again, "Down here, honey! I need a hand!" My dad's footsteps grew louder, closer, and I sat there, heart slamming, tears burning my eyes, because if I screamed, if I made one sound, I knew she'd do it. I felt the knife twitch against my skin. And then, the door creaked wider, and my dad's head appeared at the top of the stairs. "Hey, what's going on down there?" His voice was casual, like nothing was wrong. The knife pressed harder against my throat. I could feel the sharp edge kiss my skin. One move, one wrong word, and it would open me like paper. She called back, voice sugary sweet. "Can you come down for a sec? I need help moving something heavy." Dad started down the steps. His boots thudded slowly against the wood, one step at a time, echoing in the silent room. Every slam of his foot felt like a countdown. "Don't make a sound," she whispered in my ear, so close I could feel her breath. "Or your dad will see you bleed out in his basement." My whole body shook. My chest felt like it was going to explode. Dad reached the bottom step and froze. His eyes landed on me, tied to a chair. And for a split second, his face changed. Shock, confusion, maybe even horror. "What the hell?" he started, but before he could finish, she moved. She spun around, knife flashing in the dim light, and... "Stop!" I screamed, the word tearing out of me like a raw wound. The knife hovered inches from his chest. He didn't flinch. Instead, he sighed, long, heavy, like a man who just realized something inconvenient, not something terrifying. And then he said the words that shattered me. "You weren't supposed to see this." My brain stopped. Everything froze. "What?" I whispered. He looked at me, calm, almost gentle. "You should have just stayed upstairs," he said. The girlfriend smiled, slow, and in that moment I understood something so much worse than what I'd feared. They weren't enemies. They were together in this. You planned this?" My voice cracked like glass. "Oh, sweetie, it's not about planning. It's about survival." Dad walked closer. His boots echoed on the concrete. Each step sounded like a nail in my coffin. "After your mom left, things got hard. Real hard. And then Jen came along and, well, she had ideas." "Ideas?" I spat, my voice shaking with rage and terror. "Like what? Killing me?" She giggled. "No, not killing. Rehoming." "What the hell does that even mean?" I screamed. Neither of them answered. Dad crouched in front of me. His face was calm. His eyes, those same eyes that used to tuck me in at night, were cold now. "You're a smart girl," he said softly. "You've seen the bills. You know what things cost. And you're expensive." I stared at him. My chest tightened like it was collapsing inward. "You're my dad," I whispered. He smiled, tiny, sad. "I'll always love you, but love doesn't pay the mortgage." The room spun. My breath came fast, sharp, choking. "Dad, please." He looked away. Couldn't even face me. But she could. She crouched next to him, grinning wide like this was all a game. "You'll like where you're going," she said, voice bright and cheerful. "They'll take care of you. They always do." The door above us creaked again. Another set of footsteps. Heavy, slow. I craned my neck, and for 1 second, I wished I hadn't. A man appeared at the top of the stairs. Tall, broad shoulders, face in shadow. He asked, "You ready?" She smiled even wider. "Almost," she said. The man started down the steps. He was carrying something. A bag. Black. Big enough to... Oh, God. "No," I whispered, thrashing against the straps until they burned my skin. "No! No!" The girlfriend leaned close, pressing her lips to my ear like she was telling me a secret. "Don't fight it, sweetheart. The more you struggle, the more it hurts." Then she kissed my cheek. Soft, sweet, like a mother tucking in her child. The man reached the bottom of the stairs, dropped the bag with a heavy thud, unzipped it. Inside, chains, duct tape, something that looked like a hood. I screamed so loud my throat tore raw, but no one came. No neighbors, no help. Just their smiles. Dad stood up, turned his back on me. "I'll be upstairs," he said quietly. And then he walked away. He walked away, while the man pulled out the hood, while she held my face, humming softly, like a lullaby. And then darkness. I woke up to the smell of bleach. It burned my nose, sharp and chemical, pulling me back into a world I didn't want to be in. The hood was gone. The straps were gone. But I couldn't move. Not because I was tied, because my body wouldn't listen. My arms felt like stone. My legs were heavy, useless. My lips were numb. Something was in my veins. I rolled my eyes as far as I could and saw it. A clear tube taped to my arm, dripping something pale and slow into me. An IV. The room was white. Too white. Walls, floor, ceiling. No windows, no door I could see. Just a hum. Soft and constant. like machines breathing. And voices. Not loud, not clear, just whispers. I turned my head, slow, so slow, and saw shapes moving behind a pane of glass, like shadows on a stage. I couldn't hear the words, just the tone, calm, almost happy. Then one of them leaned close to the glass. It was her, the girlfriend, Jen. She smiled like this was the happiest day of her life. Then she raised her finger to her lips. Shh. My heart pounded so hard, it hurt. And then I noticed something worse than her smile. The bed I was on, it wasn't a bed. It was a table, cold metal under my skin, and my clothes were gone. All of them. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. My throat was dry, like sandpaper. Then the whispers stopped. A door opened, and the man from the basement walked in, followed by 2 others. They were wearing masks, white, blank. One carried a tray, stainless steel, shiny, lined with tools I didn't recognize, except for the scalpel. I jerked against nothing, choking on air, my voice finally cracking into a broken sound. They didn't care. They didn't speak. They just walked closer and closer. Jen appeared behind them, no mask, just that smile that burned into my brain. She touched my cheek gently, like she loved me, and whispered the last words I ever heard from her lips. You're going to make so many people happy. Then she nodded to the man with the scalpel. He picked it up, and the light above me grew brighter, so bright it felt like it was eating me alive, before everything went white. I never woke up again, but maybe parts of me did.